everybody.
Hi.
Hey, LB, how you doing?
Friday.
Happy Friday. Welcome to the 5-8. We never do this. We always forget. We write what the format of the show is, and then we never do it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do it.
Okay. The format of the show is, first of all, it's on either at 5 or 8, depending on which coast you live on. And it's 5 topics, 8 minutes each. LB keeps a very tight ship. She's going to keep the clock here. We're going to go especially briskly now because we want to get to our guests for reasons that will soon become evident sooner rather than later. How are you doing? How was your week?
My week was really busy. We have another special guest too that's going to join us later, and we'll talk about how busy we were.
Yeah.
But the big announcement of Elizabeth I came out. So it's just been lovely. I gotta say, I had a really lovely week. I'm a little tired. But I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to have made it to Friday, and I'm finally feeling that again. Whereas I don't know, during COVID, it just blurred, everything blurred, and then post-COVID, it was sort of kind of coming back together. And now it like really feels like a Friday is a Friday. So I'm happy to be here with everybody.
It does. So nice. It does. Yeah, it's good. I'm a little bit miffed, I have to say. I'm a little bit miffed. I feel a little snubbed. There was this big Biden celebration in DC for the whatever they call the thing, the Inflation Fighting Act, the Build Back Better, damn it.
The Build Back Better, whatever.
Major legislation that he did. And, Allison's there, which is great.
Yeah.
Love to see her in DC. I feel
Lily Ray might be.
Yeah, he's there. And then I'm looking and I'm like, it's like my entire Twitter feed is at this party. I'm not at the party. Nobody invited me to the party. No. Did anyone invite you to the party?
No.
We didn't get invited to the party.
No,
I'm going to be in DC in October. If something happens in October.
Yeah, we did that fabulous video announcing all of his, doing the meme that went viral. Yeah. We made Joe go viral in a positive way and helped turn those poll numbers around.
We did.
Nobody invited us.
We did. But that's okay. We're fine. I don't care about DC
I really
invites. I don't need to do that. I care about the MacArthur Genius Grant. So if you're listening, MacArthur people, hook us up. We do a lot with that.
That's what you really want.
It is, right? Yeah. I'll dine on that forever. Okay, so speaking of the Biden thing that went viral, let's say again a big shout out to Chunk for those opening graphics that continue to astonish me every week. They're amazing. Thank you, Chunk. If you don't follow him, give him a follow on the Twitter at Chunkled. Is it Chunkled or Chunkled? Okay, Chunkled. I always say Chunkled in my brain.
I know, it's weird. I don't know why you do that. It's Chunkled.
I know, Chunkled. Chunkled, like Chunkled. Okay. I think we should get to it. Now,
let's get in. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's get right to it. I can feel our guest fading, and we don't want that to happen.
We don't want it to fade.
You have a story to tell about mermaids because this is a week where the Little Mermaid remake, and they've cast a black actress to play the Little Mermaid, and oh my God, it's the worst thing ever, right?
Okay. Hang on. So she's a magical creature. She's not real. And it's a fictional story, as one would be, about a magical creature. There's not even magical realism where there's something coming in that might be real. It's not a real prince. It's not a real era. Nothing is real. We don't even know what century this is. There's a crab. There's a crab that is the star. Yeah. And a French chef who chases the crab around. So I just want to tell this quick story, everybody, because I do think we've come a long ways. I think this is amazing. And it's what Disney's done, but also as soon as she opens her voice in that teaser, it's like, oh, that's Ariel, right? So, shout out to the talent of this young actress. But so I have a magical creature story in my town that I just wanted to share with you guys so you understand the ridiculousness of people's thinkings around magical creatures. So I once gave a pitch. This was a while back at a great big producer. It was a great big 4-quadrant, big fantasy tale, origin story of a character that had never been told before, that everybody knows, has the word mother in her title. And it was just, this is her in her youth, where she came from, how she became this big iconic character that is in a lot of fairy tales. Okay, I give this incredible pitch. It really was. It was fantastic. I hit every note. It was to the studio head, to the second under the studio. I will not say his name because it was mortifying. So I give the pitch, producers there, big producers there, the development executives there, the room is full. We get to the end of it. The producer looks at me, he's like, God, you know when the producer is proud, they're like, damn, you made me look good. Because that's really the other responsibility of a writer is you cannot make anyone associated with you look bad. You can't. You know, you have to leave the room and everyone has to feel like, oh, I look even better. That's the job as much as the storytelling and anything else when you're in the room. So he's giving me this look, my producing partner. He's like, you nailed it, kid, right? This is years ago. Not too long ago, actually. And then the studio head sits there and he goes, well, and everyone's beaming. They're all like, they can see numbers flying, right? And the studio head literally said this to me. In all my years of doing this, that is by far the best pitch I have ever heard. I'm like, holy shit, I sold this fucking $200 million movie in the room. Totally made up story, right? And then he says, but you forgot one thing. You're telling the story of this magical creature who has mother, and she's not a mother. So maybe we could do something, because there was like battle scenes and everything. He's like, maybe we could do something where, did something happen to her ovaries? Is there some reason she's not becoming a mother? He's saying this to me. And I'm just sitting there, because he's like, because we just need a reason why she doesn't have any children. I shit you not. And the producer, he's got daughters. And this is why he was so committed to doing this, is it was such a female empowerment story, even though it's about a magical creature. So I look at him, I'm so proud of myself. I never went back to the studio executive, by the way, possibly because of what I said in the room. I said, well, I think the reason might be is that she's a fucking magical creature. And this is a fantasy fairy tale. And that might be why she doesn't have any children. And why the story's not about her having children. And God bless my producer. He just laughed. He got it. He thought he was like, and he banged the table and he's like, we're out. And he stood up, because the other part of the job of the studio exec is do not piss off the most powerful producer on your lot, which he did. And so we got up. My producer was like, we're going. You said it. And I'm like, okay. And we marched right out. I tell this story because the mentality of what characters are supposed to be to fit into some kind of social framework that's acceptable to everybody is pervasive. On top of that, there's an expectation for women. On top of that, we have this racial stuff that's being brought in. It doesn't just happen at an audience level. It's not just happening in the brigade of, cavemen and cavemen thinking. It happened all the time at the top of our content creation studios for creators like me, just trying to come in and tell a great story. Even when they knew, they just heard something that was money in the bank and just would be fantastic and they'd all be proud. In came that thought, in came that sort of dictate. So, we've come a long way, that we now have from the top of the arguably most powerful studio in the world, them pushing the boundary. So that it doesn't have to be the creators always doing it. So I think everybody should go out and see this movie. And I'm proud as punch that it's happening. And I think we've come a long way. I forgot to set the timer, I think, but that's
okay. You're going to tell the story no matter what. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing it. Okay. It's pretty hard The Little Mermaid is just sort of inherently awesome anyway, I think, as a product, the music and everything. So I think it's going to be wonderful. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Now I'm starting.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Human trafficking to own the libs. We've reached a point here. Okay. These two fuckers, DeSantis and Greg Abbott, are in a I don't even want to say asshole off to determine which one of them is more fascist and evil. And we say this kind of jokingly, but I mean it. Like I'm at the point now where I can't even, like, it's not fun. Like, this is like really bad
Yeah.
what they're doing. Like, these are, I mean, if you're unfamiliar with with the details of what happened, they basically lured 50 migrants onto a plane under false pretenses, saying we're basically, they said, here's our van, come in, there's candy, but worse in a sense. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same crime, but what's worse about it isn't it's that it's not like the weird skeevy guy doing it. It's the fucking governor of one of the largest states in the union who's behind this shit. Okay.
Right.
The dehumanization of these people is appalling. It's disgusting. It's a disgrace. And everybody in the country should be appalled by this. Appalled. I mean, and then to hide behind the oh, we're Christians. Fuck you. You are not. You are not. That shit goes right out the door. It's sadistic. The great that they went to Martha's Vineyard without telling them that they were going to Martha's Vineyard, and without telling anybody in Martha's Vineyard that they were coming, expecting, because DeSantis is a fuckhead who doesn't understand that we liberal people are actually have souls. And it's fun. Once everyone figures out what's going on, people come to their aid. They have a nice mass in Spanish for them. This great the immigration lawyer shows up to defend them and spits fire at these people. It's also, I mean, right now, there's a labor shortage in this country. You go to you go to any place where they need to have people. There's not enough cashiers in the grocery stores. There's not enough people at the fast food restaurants. There just aren't. Anywhere in the country that I've been, it's a noticeable thing. So how exactly is sending 50 people who want those jobs to my place bad? Like, why is this bad? It's not bad. It's good. There needs to revamp the system so people like these people who want to come here and work can come here and fucking work, because we need them. They need us. We need them.
Well, and okay. So all of that, all great points. I think two huge factors also are important if we're going to push back on this, because the whole thing is to bait outrage, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the game. So to understand that part of the game is to get everybody up at flares and have it be this culture thing and distract everyone with this. Why? Because the midterms are coming in less than 2 months. And this is the game. That's always played. So always remembering that. And then also remembering it's 50 people and it might be more. It's not a lot of people. So this isn't the coverage. To cover the outrage, I think, is important. To cover the sort of spotlight. Wow. And I believe that these governors have in their state laws their ability to do this, which is unfortunate. I think, the way that all the nuances of how to twist and turn something that might have a legal justification into doing some craven, horrible, disgusting act like this just for political points, just to make, to rile people up and get them all excited about, oh, he knows how to make them all upset, right? That owning the libs part of the whole equation of this is, it's so craven. I'm just not sure how illegal it is, but they can find all of this. These little ways to tweak and twist. I don't know how a governor in Florida takes Florida taxpayer dollars actually to pay for something happening in Texas and relocate from Texas.
Who flew the plane? Who flew the plane, and is it DeSantis' cousin? Like, somebody's got to investigate this shit.
Someone's got to investigate.
And also,
it should be investigated.
It's not the job of the state to do federal fucking jobs. Like, figure it out, guys. Like,
we all know what the point of this is.
Yeah.
The point of this is to get people upset and other people and the sadists dancing on the upset. And what's being used are human beings.
Yes.
So it doesn't get worse than that. And what was the response? As you said, it was kindness.
It was empathy.
Kindness. Of course it's kindness.
DeSantis looked at it like, I don't know what they're doing. Why are they acting like this? I wouldn't do that. Like, this man is a defective human.
I think this guy is way more calculated and careful than anyone is willing to admit. I think he does have the right to do what he did. I mean, I saw Andrew Weissman tweet right away, like, how is this not kidnapping? And people saying, how is this not human trafficking? I actually think that they have some statutes that they can justify this with. I don't know if it's going to hold up, and I don't know if anybody's going to bother to investigate. And I'm not seeing anything but gamemanship all over the show around the lives of families. And we're back. We haven't moved on from this. This is the cruelty. Remember, the cruelty is the point. Remember when everyone was saying that? We're back. We never left that space. It's still the point. And I actually don't know what to do about it other than vote everybody out that is engaging in cruelty as politics.
We need to call them out on it. I think it's important to call it, like, the owning the libs thing for certain issues is okay, whatever. Somebody's feelings got hurt or somebody's offended. That's one thing. This is not that. This is a PR stunt that involves 50 human beings who came to this country to fucking get help and were, used in this horrible way. Like, emotionally, like, they were told everything's going to be great. There wasn't candy in the van like it was promised. And that's what this is. I mean, I'm so fucking sick of the goddamn legal people being like, well, actually, there's a memo that says, fuck all that. Okay. At a certain point, what's the point of having this shit if we're not going to enforce it? And it's not the governor of Texas that has powers.
Well, also,
Homeland Security has enormous powers to do whatever.
Yes, it does.
But I don't know that and they're the ones that were lying and all this bullshit. But that's also, Biden's got to do something. He has to find these fucking people that did this and fire them immediately. And this doesn't sound like
that would be great.
Would be happy about. Yeah,
that would be amazing. I'm not. Let's see if anything happens, because that's where I'm at.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if anything happens. People seeking asylum are here legally seeking asylum. So. I can't even get started on all this really any more than this, Greg. I gotta be honest with you. It enrages me as much as it enrages you. And it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere, but just have everybody's brains dumping tons of cortisol into their bodies. That's all that happens. There's no consequences. It's going to keep happening. The people who love it are sadists. We're stuck with them in this country, and we're all upset. And in the meantime, families are being displaced in horrible, egregious, disgusting ways.
Yeah.
And thank God, I think someone did, Conan O'Brien did do a quick tweet of like, seems like a great plan to stop this. If you want to stop this, why send people to the most exclusive, incredible, beautiful island where they're it's also, it's again, incredibly dangerous and incredibly dumb at the same time, incredibly harmful and vicious and idiocy. And I don't know what space there is to occupy in between those two things other than just either giving up or showing up and voting. I don't know what else there is to do because...
Well, they're not going to... The problem is their party isn't going to do anything. Marco Rubio 10 years ago had actually a pretty well thought out plan to reform immigration, and he just abandoned it because,
they don't want to reform. This is it.
No, they can't. My point is he's capable of that, but he doesn't. All he does now is cover for Trump. So, all right, we got to go.
Wrote a great piece on Marco Rubio earlier in the week.
Fucking little turncoat. Spineless fucking turncoat.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of Marco Rubio, we're going to have our guest in a moment.
Oh no, did we lose her?
I don't know. But
no,
we'll see.
Come back. Oh, no.
Oh yeah. Right. We have to. It's karaoke time, and then we're going to bring in our guests.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
right.
Wait. I got it. Are we saying anything about this karaoke before it happens, or is it just happening?
Her hair is Eva Braun. Her lips whisper lies. Her name's Aileen Cannon. She's got Coney Barrett eyes. She'll turn a verdict on you. Flamenco Donald Spice. She's one of MAGA's Medusas. They've got Coney Barrett eyes. Christy Noah, Michelle Bachman. They all make you go, what the fuck, man? They're atrocious. And they know just how to freeze their stare in hypnosis. Dilated pupils in a trance or just high. Coney Barrett eyes.
Well done. Well played. Woohoo! Yeah, I love it.
Never again.
I think it was great. It was a great idea. Well realized. Everybody seems to like it in the comments. So
Okay.
I don't know.
I wasn't joking when I said I don't sing. Everyone thinks they hear this smoky voice and they think, oh, she's probably a great singer.
Sound pretty good to me.
Okay,
All right.
let's move on.
Let's move on. Our next guest, it's like 3:24 a.m. where she is, which is in Odesa in Ukraine. Zarina Zabrisky, how are you? How was the opera?
Drink to you.
It was a dress rehearsal. So the real premiere is tomorrow. But we'll have to tell the audience what the opera is about. They're expecting war, not opera. So maybe we should, put a little context in there.
Well, give it to us.
Yeah, let's have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so no intro. Do they know who I am? Do I need a little introduction? Or
Okay, Greg will give you a little introduction. Look at her. She took over the show. She took over the show. I love it.
I've been on Zarina. Zarina's so careful and so meticulous. Okay, Zarina Zabrisky, my friend, been on my podcast a bunch of times. A writer, a journalist, a performance artist, a novelist. Started reporting as soon as the invasion happened from San Francisco. Was beamed into the Telegram channels, talking to people constantly, reporting on everything that was happening in Ukraine on the ground in real time on Twitter with these incredibly useful threads. Okay, that really were but was going nuts. Just walking around, pacing around like a caged animal, and finally got to go to Ukraine to do reporting on the ground, and is now reporting for like so many different publications that honestly I've lost track. You've got the Byline Time Show, you've got the Euromaidan Press. What am I forgetting?
Byline News. So
a
new video show that I'm very excited about, and LB, you might know I've got a really cool director producer. He's Emmy nominated producer for Crown on Netflix, actually.
Wow.
I walk around with my little phone taking like really crappy movies or whatever is happening, and they turn it into some magic in London. So we just started, but I've been with that show in Chernobyl, in Zaporizhia, in Kiev, in Uman, all over Ukraine, on my bus with a little backpack. So if you want some videos, that's on Byline News. But other than that, you nailed it. It's Euromaidan Press. Every day, their daily reports. If you are in for some really, really long and somewhat boring report, it's right there every day. If you're not into the boring stuff, right on top, there are 5 sentences, what happened that day, that can come handy. And the headline, which takes a while to coin, and the Byline Times podcast I recommend with Adrian Goldberg Radio. He's awesome. If you like British accent, he's right there with like, hello, Byline Radio is there. And then I come with my, God knows what accent, and we together we deliver what's happening. Yeah. And I, also Byline Times. Yeah. And I recently started to also write for Fresno. Some newspaper, but it's really good. I forgot
The
that.
Fresno Bee? Here?
No, I only had one publication, and one is first coming, and it's in Fresno, and I forgot. It's
Okay.
called-
Okay.
But I've been writing
It's
for
fine.
a lot of places. Also, Paris Review is coming on. I mean, I've been really, all I do here, guys, usually I work and sleep. Today, I don't sleep because I'm with you, so I just work. I don't do anything else, which suits me fine. I mean, this is this time and this place where you won't just work. I mean, also through work, you meet this absolutely incredible people. And I'm not joking right now. I did, some drinking to stay awake, but I'm not joking. I'm being serious right now. I've never in my life expected to see that many heroes, or even realize that there were so many heroes in real life. Anywhere I go, they are there, and they are also very modest about it. It's not like everybody's going like, hey, I'm a hero. You just get the stories as a journalist, and you think like, oh my God, this is what you see in movies only. And here they are walking everywhere around me. So yeah, everything is a story here.
You mentioned here, as far as where I'm sitting, you're pretty damn heroic yourself for going out there and doing
Yes.
what you're doing. I know you're very modest too, like your people are that you're talking about, but you're doing even the things that you say are boring. They're really useful. I mean, you're creating accounts in the historical record, like. That's what we use, that we rely on years from now to learn about history. We learn about the Peloponnesian War from guys that wrote about it while it was happening, and thousands of years ago. So this is important, and somebody has to do it. Not everybody has the skill set and the motivation, the time, and the passion to be able to do it. And we're glad.
Thank you. Well, but let's move on and talk about.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay.
I know how
Wait,
you.
I have
Okay.
one question first, because I know you hurt yourself. How is your toe?
Well, this is a funny story, actually. This show is all about stories, but I traveled all around the war-torn Ukraine and the war zone for 40 days, and I was quite fine. Intact, nothing happened to me. And then I came back to my home base in Odesa, and walking from the bedroom to the hallway, I walked into the door stopper, which I have never seen before. I swear I've been here for months. And here am I, hopping on one foot. That's another story. I thought it was broken because I couldn't step on it at all. So I had there's a lady in front of my building. This is an 1881 building, and we have a lot of cats. And in front of the building, there's a lady in the flower kiosk, which is strangely open 24/7, even though we have a curfew. Like at 11, everything is supposed to be closed and everybody's supposed to be at home. Not this lady. She's up and out there. Her reason for that, she has a cat. The cat's name is Soma, and Soma was injured in a car accident. So she nursed this cat to complete beauty. He's a star of the district. Everybody loves this cat. So she's there to watch him so he doesn't get run over again, or whatever. So she's always there. She knows everyone. She sees me hopping on one foot, and she says, you must go to a hospital. You can have broken your foot or whatever. So the hospital's called Jewish. For some reason, it's the nickname of the hospital. And I come in there and I'm thinking, I don't have an insurance here. What am I going to do? Like, they're going to charge me a lot of money. They're going to ask for the documents. Guess what? They don't want any documents. They just write down my name, whatever I say. I try to show my passport. They look at me like I'm crazy. It's like, we don't need that. And then they take an x-ray. I have a doctor's visit. Like, everything is going on. And then I'm trying to pay, and they look at me and they say, Miss, healthcare is free in Ukraine. So, I mean, this is like, we're talking about what in America, considered a third world country. I walked out of there without having paid anything to anyone. Apparently it's not broken. It's just, like being hurt badly. So because of that, I didn't go to the liberated territories in Kharkov, where you might have heard the counteroffensive has happened. So the Ukrainians pushed the Russian invaders all the way back to Russia, which is a great thing. What's not a great thing, that along the way, the Ukrainian forces found a lot of mass graves. This is not a fun thing. If you, still on a laughing note, this is going to be like upsetting, downer. They found for now 449 bodies in a mass grave, of which I was writing a report today. Not fun for me. I have 4 great grandparents in mass graves. I was hoping I would never write about it other than in the books like you, Greg, in novels. Here am I writing about people in mass graves right now. Not a good thing. Yeah, so I would be there just like everybody else. All the journalists are there now, but I couldn't go because who's going to give me a rise? I'm hopping on one foot. So because I stayed here, turned out to be a good thing. There was a meeting at the mayor's office in Odesa, and if you have never heard about Odesa, it's it's hard to quantify cities, but it's a very special city in Ukraine. And right now, UNESCO is about to put Odesa on the list of the World Heritage Sites.
Oh,
So
good.
that's what the meeting was about. And there were only 2 journalists there, one from Der Spiegel and myself. So if you're interested in details, it's forthcoming in my By-Wire news show soon. I will share that on Twitter. So I was at the mayor's office, and because the Der Spiegel journalists decided to leave right away, I was the only one there, and I got to interview the mayor, the mayor's team, whoever was there. I got to hang out there. They're the kindest people ever. They saw me limping, so the whole mayor's team gathered around my little toe, trying to fix it, showing me some physical therapy moves and some ointments. I mean, just incredible. And when I said I was blushing, really, I didn't blush since I was 11. And it's like, please, I'm okay. Don't look at my feet. And they were like, no, you're a foreigner here. You need some care. We're here to help you. So that. And after that, the reason it's called Night in the Opera is because I thought it was a premiere, the world premiere of the opera that was staged all during the war. But today was the dress rehearsal. Premiere is tomorrow. So yesterday I was there interviewing the director, the choreographer, the composer, and half of the time that the dress rehearsal was supposed to be happening, we spent in the bomb shelter, which I filmed, and it's forthcoming on By-Wire, following the soloists. Just imagine, Covent Garden or San Francisco Opera, that's where I'm from, in San Francisco, LA, right, wherever you are, with the soloist of the opera, the day before premiere, sits in a bomb shelter, basically in a basement, and the choir is playing cards because they can't rehearse. Because there's an air raid going on.
They can't make the noise.
Well, no. Noise
Or just they can't be up on stage. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
you got to be downstairs in case there's bombs.
The day before yesterday, they sent 2 missiles to Odesa. So I was sitting right here where I'm sitting now working, where the big kaboom is happening, because the missile is arriving, but Ukrainian air defense is hitting it down. So the reason you need to go to the bomb shelter is because they might hit wherever you are, and then you're, dead meat, basically. But a lot of people prefer to stay up and not go to the bomb shelter because, again, the macabre subject, you can be buried under the rubble. So you don't know, like a lot of people told me in interviews that they prefer to just die instantly rather than being buried under the cement and whatnot. And I'm one of them because whenever that happens, I don't go to a bomb shelter. I just sit here. It's like, if it gets me, it gets me. Yeah, I had a good life. I talked to you guys.
You told me I think one of the times you came on the podcast, you told me to watch Tenet. And Tenet, I mean, the first scene of Tenet is the Ukrainian opera house, and that's where all the action goes down. So were you thinking about that when you were there?
Well, I mean, in the beginning I was, and occasionally I bring it up, but by now it's kind of like universally known, I hope. I mean, like Putin, by now everybody knows that he's insane, right? I hope, right? Tell me.
Yeah, no, he's a genocidal maniac.
By the way, right before I came on here, Politico in Europe, they issued a report that said that Russian government denied that there was an assassination attempt on Putin. There was something on some Telegram channel that said that there was an assassination attempt and that he survived.
Yeah,
I have no idea, but just FYI.
I am with them. I mean, this is like, there's a lot of political theater going on. And some of my editors wanted me to report on backlash against Putin. And I said, like, guys, like, just chill.
Yeah,
there's
we don't
no
need that.
backlash against Putin. Whatever negative feelings in Russia about Putin is that the special operation, which they label the war, is not going according to the plan. And the Russians are being pushed out. And so the zombies in Russia, the patriotic, brainwashed, whatever they are enraged that great Russia is being defeated by a bunch. And then they use, some derogatory terms for Ukrainians. And Ukrainians are really funny about it because they have great sense of humor, because they comment on that, like, we know, we're surprised ourselves.
Well, I actually want to talk about that. So let's talk about, because that is right. It's just hijacking the news cycle to throw something out there. Like it's like the news cycle that's getting hijacked over here. Right? They'll always play these games. But what the big news is, this ground that has been made, this offensive at reclaiming territory. It feels like over here, the news over here, Zarina, has been that the dominoes are falling, right? It's happening now. It's this counteroffensive has just been wildly successful. Clearly, thank God, us and NATO nations are, everyone's figured out how to support now, and Ukraine is ready for that. And they know what to do. They know how to take their own land back. This isn't a mystery to them. And they know the ridiculous thing and monstrous thing, this horrible thing that they're up against. So I think clarity of the moment over here has been, okay, it's gonna work. How is it over there? Is that what's really happening?
Well, like I said, because of my tour, I'm still here. I'm not in the liberated areas. From what I get from the military analysts, local ones, Ukrainian, and experts I talked to, one is it's been designed. It didn't just happen. It's been months in making, and the Americans and Brits helped. Yeah. So there was intelligence participating. Our military, meaning American military, I'm American, in case you're getting confused by my accent, I'm an American. So our military have been very, very helpful in the process. They don't disclose in what way, but it's clear that there has been a lot of communication back and forth, because Ukrainians finally, are ready to accept it. And it's a good thing. And it's one of the best maneuvering and strategic moves in the war history of this century. Wow. Because you might have heard, people who are interested in politics and read about it, you might have heard about Kherson counteroffensive. It's been going on for months, building up. Ukrainians are about to attack in Kherson, in the south region. I actually have a map here, which I use for podcasts to the refresh. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the map of Ukraine. It's hard to maneuver it, especially after a couple of drinks. But here you see, this is a Crimea that was occupied in 2014 by the Russians. And so this is south, right? So I'm here in Odesa. right there. And Kherson is right next to me. So the Russians are here. They are occupying all this area. So for months, the Ukrainians have been talking about counteroffense here. So the Russians pulled Russians are there. So they pulled all the troops here, waiting for Ukrainians to counterattack. And what did they do? The smartest thing ever. They go east to Kharkiv, and they do counteroffense there, and they do counteroffense to Donbass area. So they go in 3 theoretically directions, but also 4, because Donbass is Donetsk and Luhansk. So they go in 2. And it's brilliant because the Russians are being cut off here, and because the Americans have been delivering the long-range artillery, MLRS systems. The Ukrainians are starting to destroy the bases with ammunitions, depots, command bases all over the occupied territories. So by the time they start the counteroffense, the Russians don't have anything to rely on. They simply don't have materials to shoot back, right? To put it in a very simple way, like so the 4-year-old can understand, according to Einstein. So boom, voila, that's what's happening. And in many places, also the bridges are being exploded, so the Russians don't have the way to retreat, and it's really a trap. And Putin today said in some idiotic speech of his that they are just regrouping back. Their initial goal is to liberate Donbass. And Donbass is Donetsk and Luhansk region in the east, which they have captured in 2014. And basically it's bullshit, because you guys use this language here. It's complete bullshit, because they are being pushed out of pretty much anywhere they have been. And this is why we're seeing these atrocities in Kharkiv,
right,
east. And we will see more, mind my words, as the areas are being liberated, where the Russians have been for 6 months. And on my trip around Ukraine, I visited Bucha and Irpin and Gostomel and Slavutich, Chernihiv. These are all the areas in the east and north that were occupied by the Russians. And I interviewed many people, and I filmed many sites that have been completely destroyed by the Russians. And I have seen the atrocities, and I spoke to people. So we're going to see much more. We're going to see many more mass graves and so forth.
It sounds to me, and thank you for that, because that was really good, especially
that
when
was
you brought
great.
the map up.
I love that
I think
map.
it really, I think all the 4-year-olds watching certainly understood it, especially if they've been drinking like we have.
Especially if they have some little tequila.
But it sounds to me like Normandy, like it's the same kind of thing where, the Germans in World War II were so convinced that we were not going to attack. They thought it was going to be at Calais. They thought it was going to be later. That Rommel, who was in charge of defense for the Atlantic, was in fucking Berlin when that happened. Like, they were so fooled by the whole thing. So the subterfuge worked. And then, the idea of just cutting them off is brilliant. And you're always trying to do that militarily. But when I was reading about this on Twitter, even the military people who were paying close attention would say things like, oh, I'm hearing that they're gaining all this territory. There's no way that can be true. And then they come back on and they say, actually, not only is it true, they gained more territory than we even thought. Like, this was an ass kicking.
By now, like about 8,000 square kilometers, translate that to miles. I'm horrible at math, but about the same, and still going. And Alexander Kovalenko, one of the best military analysts here in Ukraine, and in at least I think so. He said that there will be a break now, and other people are saying that too, because you can't have the attack at all times. They have to stop and regroup and recharge. So all this elation is great, but there will be a slowdown. So it's important not to get demoralized or disinterested. They are going to continue, but they're going to take a break. So we are looking sometime soon at slowing down. And that's not a sign of defeat, it's the sign of strategic thinking.
Yeah, which
Okay,
obviously they're really, really good
They're
at.
really good at it
working
now.
working in the
Oh,
media,
wow.
great.
Yeah.
Doing the planning the war, great. And using help from us, great. And again, shout out Biden, because if Trump was in charge, I don't know what.
Oh my God, that would be a disaster. And that all along was Putin's plan. The plan was to install Trump, who would be Putin's puppet, and we all wrote, exhaustively about that. Okay,
right.
anybody can look at our, social media or whatever writing, and if you're not up to score, but I think by now everybody knows that. Although, the other day, somebody on Twitter, who's that? Somebody very popular asked, who is more dangerous to America, Putin or Trump? And I usually don't answer anything or don't interact on Twitter. You know me, I'm very lazy. I just occasionally slap something there. But I saw that dude, wrong question. Trump was Putin's puppet all along. What are you asking? To thousands replies. This is just basically disinformation, because one thing led to another. That was the plan all along, to install Trump, then capture Ukraine, and then keep going until you install Eurasia. Remember this thing I was telling you?
Eurasia one, yep.
And that's where Dugin is coming in, right? With the whole Eurasianism plan. Only fortunately, we in America had brains and power to not elect Trump again. So we're having good government. And as a result, this whole scheme of Putin is falling apart. And hallelujah. And, of course, to that.
Amen. I want to ask also, before we release you, you've been all over the Chernobyl thing, because even right at the beginning, when we spoke, you were very worried about that.
That's right.
Again, not so much that that Putin would use nuclear weapons, because God knows if his stupid things even work. They can't get their shit together there to do anything. But if something happens to the nuclear reactors, where just because the people weren't working them right or this or that, it could be basically the same thing. So what's the situation there now? Are you as scared as you were?
Very good questions, and I almost forgot about it at this hour. It's almost 4, and after a couple of drinks. But I just went first to Zaporizhia. I couldn't get to the nuclear power station because it is currently occupied by the Russians since the 4th of March. So nobody but Russian journalists are allowed there. Even when International Atomic Energy Agency arrived, only the Russian journalists could report on that. So I couldn't go there, but I was at the closest place ever, which was Zaporizhia. And we had the press conference with 3 Ukrainian ministers, Minister of Energy and Foreign Affairs and Internal Affairs. And we had the nuclear drills there. And I interviewed the hell out of Zaporizhia, the head of the region, everybody. And everybody saying the same thing. Please demilitarize the place. Yeah. No military should ever be allowed anywhere close to the nuclear power station. And that's for the reason, because there's not only the core reactors, where a very complicated reaction is going on with the Uranus, which, if something goes wrong, will go on for 300,000 years, and nobody will be able to stop it, like in Chernobyl, where I went after that. But we also have the nuclear waste, and that's the fuel that's been used for the nuclear reactor. Once it is being used, it has to be stored in a confinement, in a special place. And this is even more dangerous in a way than the core, than the working power unit that produces the energy. And both of them are really dependent on the continuous supply of electricity. Because if it's interrupted, if the station is de-energized, the cooling systems are not working. The ventilation systems are not working either. Fire safety systems are not working. But mainly the cooling systems go down. What happens? Either the reactor overheats and melts, or the nuclear fuel overheats and the radioactive leak is happening. And then the wind blows it from the largest nuclear power plant in Europe all the way to Europe. And there has been a lot of research, and it will blow it all the way to Scandinavia. If you look at the map, I don't have it here, look at it, it's quite far there. So us in America, we won't get it. The wind won't blow it that far, but we are pretty connected to Europe, so it's not a good thing, right? So from there, I went to Chernobyl to see what happened there, because that was the first place that the Russians actually occupied when they started their full-scale invasion on the 24th of February. The first thing they did, it was actually symbolic. They seized the Chernobyl nuclear power plant station. And the biggest misconception about it that I hear a lot is that, oh, in 1986, there was an accident, and after that, it was blown away and it's not functioning.
Right.
It was still functioning because only one reactor was blown. And after that, quite a few of them were still functioning till actually 2002. And it was still able to produce electricity, but for some political reasons, it was shut down. However, the nuclear fuel is still being stored at the territory of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. And that presents as much danger as the Zaporizhia with the nuclear power plant. Even though the reactors are not working, the nuclear power fuel is still there. And they have two types of cooling, through air system and through water system, and both need to be cooled. So again, electricity needs to always be working there. And what do the Russians do? They disconnected electricity both at Zaporizhia and at Chernobyl. And at Zaporizhia, presumably because they wanted to switch Zaporizhia, a very large power plant that produces electricity, to the Russian side, so they can then channel the electricity to Crimea and to Russia. And there are two different systems, so it's a little bit complicated. My last two shows on By-Wire News give a lot of details and good interviews with experts, so I won't go in detail. But the funniest thing in Chernobyl, and I finally researched it in person, I went to the Red Forest, to the most radioactive point in Chernobyl, and I actually drove by the trenches that the Russian dug in the forest, in the most contaminated place. They dug their trenches there, they slept there, they built some stupid fortification. So once they retreated, there were food packages left. They started fires. They hunted radioactive deer in the radioactive forest. And with more guys, and it's also in my report in By-Wire News. I saw it with my own eyes, and I filmed it with my own phone, this very one, and you can see it too. There are two toilet seats. Yes, because the Russians are infamous for stealing toilet seats from anywhere they go.
Why do they do this? I've seen this. It's so
they don't have them.
I don't want to know. They don't have toilets.
Just wait for it. It gets better, because those two toilet seats you will see filmed with my very phone were looted from the Pripyat apartments, abandoned 30 years ago because of their radioactive contamination. They're very, very hazardous. So if you sit on this fucking toilet seat, you start to glow. Your parts, whatever, Yeah.
Those are the parts of your body you want sitting on a radioactive thing.
Well, I don't know whether they figured it out, and that's why these toilet seats are abandoned by the Ferris wheel, the famous one from the movie. Right? I was standing right next to it, and I'm looking at these toilet seats, and I'm like, what is the hell? Or most likely, they just didn't have enough space in their vehicles, because
they took a bunch of toilets.
They even left their spare tires to take, washing machines and stuff with toilet seats. But two radioactive toilet seats didn't fit in. So there they are in Pripyat, ghost town, satellite town of Chernobyl. If you watch the, Netflix series, there they are. I was there. I saw them. I didn't touch them. I walked by them on the proper path. And yeah, it was insane. It was
What
insane.
a metaphor. Yeah.
Oh my God,
what a
totally.
metaphor.
I mean, to be fair, radioactive deer do taste better. I just want to
Oh,
say.
stop.
Yeah, no, you don't have to cook it as long. It's very functional.
You don't have to cook it.
I met a radioactive. I
Oh,
didn't get to see the deer, but I met a fox. There was a fox, and it's filmed. I filmed the fox. It looked at us. It sneezed at us, and it trotted away. Yeah, and his name is Simeon. Don't say it's Mogilevich. It's not. It's a fox, radioactive fox named Simeon, very famous in Pripyat area, totally radioactive. I mean, everything that I'm telling you is pretty much insane, but it's all true. I mean,
that's the theme of the show, really. It's
that's
the
I
theme
think
of life
that's our episode tonight.
at this time.
Insane but true.
Insane but true.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's almost 4:00 in the morning. I don't want to keep you any longer. This has been so great. Thank you so much for staying up with us and hipping us to what's going on.
You guys,
I think
the last thing I'll say before I go, I'm loving it here. I'm doing the good thing. I'm meeting a lot of good people. I have to admit that after living in America for 25 years, I didn't have a chance to miss it very much. But you know what I miss? I really miss good American talk. I speak English to some people, but they speak with some weird accents like myself, or the Brits or Irish or French or God knows what. And I really miss like good old Californian English American. I'm in love with this language. I'm just enjoying listening to you so much.
Oh,
you don't
come
have
on
to
and
go.
talk
You can stay.
anytime, Zarina.
We want to give you an out, because it's late there.
It's so late, but we love talking to you. We love it.
Would it make you feel better if we talk like California?
No, don't. That's not how we talk in California.
It's totally
No, you just do what you do. But I really miss the language. That's truth.
Okay. Well, we'll do some phone time. Let's get some phone time.
Yeah. We can do it at a time when it isn't so late for you too.
Yeah.
So and I know you're not reading the comments.
Where they can find Zarina, where they can find her work, Greg.
Again, it's Zarina Zabrisky with 2 Z's on Twitter. It's just her name. Definitely follow her if you're not. She's at Bywire Times. Did I say it right? Bywire Times? Okay. Euromaidan. No.
It's easy to spot. Let me tell you. It's Byline Times, which is a British newspaper. It's very good, solid. Check it out. And Bywire News, which is Bywire News. It's a #1 downloaded news app in the UK. Okay. It's a cool thing. It's fairly new, but it does a cool thing. And we have a show on YouTube, which I just started with the Emmy-nominated Crown producer. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm on my 5th episode, and this will be the 6th one coming up. Pretty cool. And then Euromaidan Press, which is a Ukrainian newspaper in English, very, very popular. I have a very strict editor. She's something else. Sometimes I even doubt if she's human. She has 3 kids, and I think she works 24/7. Very talented, and she runs a very tight ship. So I really recommend Euromaidan Press. Really cool. For anything Ukraine in English, go to Euromaidan Press. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Fresno Alliance, you had a couple articles on that. So
yes, I'm coming one about Azov Regiment wives, and that one is very dear to my heart.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There we go.
Here we go.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah, I feel less crazy because I keep saying Bywire and Byline and flipping them, but I see now that they are 2 different things.
I know.
I haven't completely lost my mind.
Actually,
that doesn't come for another hour.
Yeah.
What's that?
They actually work together. They collaborate.
Okay, that's right.
Oh, good. There we go. There's the answer.
Zarina, thanks so much. We will have a good night's sleep and enjoy. Hopefully, you get to go to the opera tomorrow.
I'm too excited now. I don't know.
Get some sleep. You've got an opera to go to, and you're a toady heel.
Cheers to you guys and to Greg's new book. I hope you're going
to Greg's new book.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second.
We're going to talk about it in a little bit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye, honey.
Yay.
Yay.
That was great. I love Zarina.
Yay.
She's so inspirational, you know. I mean,
Oh,
really.
she's amazing.
It's just
I
made
love
all this
her.
stuff happen and is so essential to what's going on. Like I'm just like, you know, following
It's
this stuff.
incredible.
What does she think? What does she do? So really amazing work that she's doing. Okay. We got two more, LB.
We got two more. But
let's just do cannon fodder real quick.
Let's just do cannon fodder real quick. Aileen Cannon, I think I said everything I wanted to say about Aileen Cannon in the song. That's it.
All right. Look, I said this on Allison's show on Daily Beans today.
Okay, good.
In a vacuum, it is batshit nuts that this one person, a flamenco dancer, okay, who's like picked by Marco Rubio, installed after Trump has already lost the election, obviously owing favors all over town, is just going to fucking just kibosh the progress of the entire national security investigation into this guy who is clearly, he's stolen 1,100 fucking documents.
It's the greatest act of espionage ever to happen to this nation.
And we're just like, oh, Aileen Cannon said we have to stop. Well, I guess we're going to have to stop now. We don't want to piss off Aileen Cannon.
No.
She might flamenco. She might give us a bad mark on like a 5 on Dancing with the Stars. What the? I can't. I don't even. And again,
that's it.
And now,
okay.
One more thing, quickly.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about her? Because I can go to this later.
I know. No, do it.
Okay. Now there's this guy whose name is Deary. His name is Deary. Not Trusty. That's Trump's lawyer. Deary. And once again, it's some old white guy that we have to hope and pray will do the right fucking thing, even though he's a Republican and probably is not going to do the right thing. I read a thread on Twitter a couple hours before the show where somebody who worked with him, knew him well, was, oh, he's the greatest guy. He's blah, blah, blah. He's an impartial jurist, tra la la. And then he says in this thread, during the job interview, we talked about that, but the first thing he asked me was, tell me about your family. You can't ask that in a job interview. It's fucking illegal. You can't go there. I mean, I get that he's trying to say that the guy's nice, but like, you ask a woman, tell me about your family. Are you married? Are you pregnant? You can't say that shit. I used to work in HR. Whenever somebody starts going into personal shit like that, the HR people are like, no, stop. So if the guy doesn't know how to do that, here we are again. Here are the names, LB. Deary, Trusty, Hardee's.
That should have been the name. Although I like cannon fodder.
Okay, enough about this.
Enough about all that. Okay.
Oh,
it's going to exhaust me. We have someone to introduce.
We have to do are we going to do announcements first, or are we going to bring him on?
No, we're going to do announcements with our.
Oh, we're going to do announcements. Okay. Well, let's introduce him.
Here's the empty chair. Go ahead.
Okay. He is the president of podcasts for Imperative Entertainment. Please welcome Jason Hoch.
It's Jason Hoch.
I've been sitting next to you the whole time laughing.
It's really good.
The live laugh track is always good. We always like that. You know, it's always fun. So, you're going to make an announcement?
Follow, by the way. That was incredible.
No, Zarina's impossible to follow. Yeah, impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just amazing.
Yep. This way, she's the one guest that gets all the time she wants. And
that's right.
Because it's so important what she's sharing. So
it's astonishing what she's doing. Yeah.
Okay, so people know Jason's work. If you follow the Imperative stuff, the folks here might know of a podcast called The World Beneath, a series. This is the man. This is my producer. So we were at an event last night, and I said, "Look, I'm going to get you into some trouble tomorrow. You're coming on this crazy show that I do with Olear." So here, it's such a good sport. So Jason's with us for the announcements because there's some announcements to make.
Yeah. So we were at the Elizabeth Taylor Ball to End AIDS last night. Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation Ball to End AIDS, and we were celebrating. It kind of worked out this way. But we announced the Elizabeth Taylor podcast called Elizabeth the First is coming out October 3rd.
October 3rd. right. Everyone's been
That's
asking.
soon.
That's the
I'm
date.
excited. Okay. I was hoping
Yeah,
it'd be soon.
we dropped the trailer, which has this beautiful art. It's a famous photograph from Bert Stern and of Elizabeth around the Cleopatra era. And we dropped the trailer. And Katy Perry's the host, as you probably know. She is absolutely incredible. I cannot wait for you to hear the series. So on October 3rd, when you wake up early, you will get the first 2 episodes. And the 3rd episode for subscribers, you're going to be able to jump into that. And the 3rd episode is kind of the Cleopatra episode.
Yeah.
And we tell the story like it's never been told before. Like people think they know this story, but we had access to the
It's a really good
archives.
episode.
We both had to sign a second non-disclosure
Yeah.
agreement to get into the archival room here in Los Angeles.
I've never signed so many NDAs as I did on this project. That's why I was like, well, I can't really. Greg's like, when is it? I'm like, I can't tell you.
You can't even tell me when the damn thing's coming out. So
I
I'm
know.
glad that I was like, I hope it's soon because I don't want it to be like it's coming out in the spring or something. So this is great. This is great.
Yeah,
This is exciting. Yeah.
It's been about just over 3 years in the making, and that's not because anything was ever wrong. It just
Takes that kind of
sometimes
time.
takes all of that. And I actually just want to pause for a bit and just give you a shout out.
Oh, thank you.
She is an incredible writer. You are going to just be absolutely blown away by the storytelling here. Like it is incredible. So you did it again.
I did it.
This is really, honestly, one of the most incredible things you will hear all this year. And it's about all these great moments in Elizabeth Taylor's life as the original influencer. But it's woven together like this really dramatic story that has cliffhanger endings. And I saw a lot of people last night at the event that we are very close to. And I joked with almost every one of them that I hear them every day. I hear them every day in my ears because I'm editing all this and putting it all together.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have any idea that I listen to their voices all the time. So seeing them in person at this wonderful event was really incredible. And
Yeah.
it was kind of surreal.
It was a little surreal. It was just a little that it sort of like all kind of came together. It wasn't necessarily planned, but it was sort of the universe just sort of came together. Things happen like that with Elizabeth Taylor. Let me tell you, it's just there's magic dust around her. So it was our honor to work on this. We're just so thrilled with it.
Yeah,
It's
and
great.
the last thing I'll say on that. Yeah, I was just going to say the last thing I'll say on that is, you know, she's had this wonderful life, and certainly we've seen things visually on the screen of her, from movies to famous interviews. But like a lot of great stuff over her life, there's stuff that actually maybe only works in audio that you would never consider in something visual.
Yeah.
And I will just tease that all the way that we have found some stuff that you've never heard of.
It's true.
You've never heard her talk this way on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it's pure magic. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay, Elizabeth.
Now, Cleopatra is on HBO Max right now because I was watching because I never saw Cleopatra. So I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this Cleopatra. So I watched the first hour of it the other night. So it's there. You know, it's good. It takes a while to get, but it's fun to watch, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my favorite is the the Virginia Woolf thing.
It's like 3 or 4 hours long too. It's a long
It's
movie.
forever.
4
It's
hours.
not-
It's
Rated
forever.
G though, so you got that. I'm sure kids would really like it to sit for 4 hours listening to
Right.
guys speak British and pretend to be Julius Caesar. I'm
Someone's
really
asking,
excited about
does
this.
she have siblings? Yes.
I've heard actually very little about it, but I'm excited
Yeah.
to
And this is like my closest buddy, and I'm like, I can't.
That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
I
That's the way it goes.
I thought it was a totally different Elizabeth. I thought it was Elizabeth Taylor who runs the fat. No, I'm sure.
No, stop it.
I knew it was this Elizabeth Taylor. Okay. I also have an announcement.
Yes,
Right.
let's hear your
My
announcement.
my announcement is I have my book now.
Yes.
My book is called Empress, The Secret History of Anna Kay. And it's long, 700 pages long. I wrote this in my spare time. No, I wrote it in 2015 into 2016 before Trump, and then he came, and I just sort of pivoted, and I stopped doing anything, for myself, and just wrote about Trump this whole time. And recently, I was like, I have to try to reclaim my creative space back, and so I'm like, I'm just going to publish this damn thing, and that's it. So it's out now. It's on Amazon now. I'm going to be writing about it on Sunday for my Sunday pages. If you go to My Prevail and subscribe to that, you'll get all of the inside information and the links and the audio. I did an audio of the preface and the first part of the book, which I read part of it, and then my friend Allison Weller, who actually was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. She's a really good actress. She was in high school, and she remains. If you've listened to this thing, you'll know. So that's there if you prefer to listen. And anyway, that's it. I'm excited about it. I'm very nervous about it. I said on a podcast, it's like when the Knicks made the playoffs like 2 years ago, they've sucked for so long that I forgot how nervous you get when your team is in the playoffs. You're like, you can't sit, and I feel that way a little bit. I've been very, very anxious all week. And, because it's weird, as you know, LB, to put a creative project into the world. But I'm excited to do it. And when I was writing it, as I recall, I was very, very motivated to write it. I was as if possessed, which I'd never really felt that way quite before. Maybe it was a good possession. Maybe it was a demon. I don't know. You could decide.
No, you went somewhere with it. It is very special.
Yeah. Thank you.
Unlike how horrible I am to Greg. Greg's very generous of let me read. He gave it to me ahead of time. It's wonderful, Greg. It's wonderful. Nothing to be nervous about.
Okay.
Everyone get this book. It's transportive. It takes you somewhere that you haven't been, and there's magic dust on it. So
yeah, it's set in the Byzantine Empire in in the 1000s. Like that's the deal. So that usually makes people be like, oh, maybe I won't. Anyway, but it's good. There's a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of things in there. A lot of action. Anyway, that's that.
Saga. It's amazing saga.
This is delightful that we get to do the big announcements on the same show, by the way.
I know.
Right? That's also what I was hoping that we would be able to do that.
Doing the same thing. We haven't been able to announce much because you've kept that really close to your chest.
And they're kind of similar. Like, look, Liz Taylor could have been this, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Would have been fine. Yeah.
Women who rule. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. We're up to number 5, which is Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
And we're turning the floor over to you, Jason. You're always behind. You're behind the mic. You get to be in front of the mic now. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do at Imperative is tell kind of the dramatic nonfiction narrative podcasts. It's the lane I'm in. It feels awesome to tell these incredible stories, whether it's The World Beneath or Elizabeth Taylor. And, I'm a child of the 70s. I was born in 71. I didn't really understand the 70s until I got a little older. And it's just this incredible decade. And so what I remember most is the 80s. It's the Cold War. It's Reagan. It's Brezhnev. It's all this stuff happening. And I never forgot that. And so I've lived in this era where the Cold War was happening. Nuclear war was a real threat. And then it all went away. The Berlin Wall fell. I have a piece of the Berlin Wall somewhere in a stash somewhere. Yeah, I dated a girl, and her sister was at the Berlin Wall the night it fell. So I've got this somewhere. But that happened, right? So it was all over for the Soviet Union, and things went away, and then it came back, and we're living in this era of something different than the Cold War. And I really started to, as a political scientist and historian, started to really appreciate the fact that I've now lived through these 3 eras, and really kind of the Trump-Putin news every night made me really think about this. And so not only do I work with all these other creators, but I'm a creator myself. And I just said, you know what? I want to tell a spy story in podcasts, because it's really never been done before. And I literally one day just started Googling KGB spies, 80s era, what in the hell, I don't know. And what I discovered was this man named Jack Barsky, who is famously the #1 espionage target of the FBI in the 1980s. He was an ex-KGB. He was in this country for 10 years. Oh, by the way, I live in Atlanta, and I discovered that he lived 35 minutes from me. And
simulation. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I emailed him. We agreed to have lunch. Not being the spy, I showed up 35 minutes early to stalk out the territory and make sure there wasn't anything funny going on. And this man shows up in a Hawaiian shirt, jeans, and like boat shoes. And we kind of really got to know each other. And Jack Barsky, if you don't know, is this kind of Forrest Gump of the Cold War era, who's walked through all the moments. He was there with his parents. He showed up the day the Berlin Wall went up, and they were told to turn around and go back to Eastern Germany. Mm-hmm. And he, came over as a single spy with kind of not so great training from the KGB, which was against what I thought, the perception of what KGB agents were, these highly trained, highly orchestrated individuals. And so in this podcast, which I created with him over the course of 18 months, it's called The Agent. We tell his story to the point where he's caught by the FBI. So it told this story to me of what it was. And this, I think I have a kind of a continuing obsession with what this really means in our world, our politics, our lives, of all these eras. And so I haven't let go of that obsession. And I have 2 new titles that are vastly different from The Agent and Jack Barsky that continue to kind of intersect these relationships over time. And so the first one's called, and these are both coming out in the next 4 to 8 weeks or so.
We understand you're not allowed to tell us when things are
No,
you're going to get
you're actually going to get the scoop today.
We're not allowed, but also it's spy stuff. You have to keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's spy stuff.
Okay.
So, well, first off, we were talking, before I get into those titles, we were talking about, when I look through The Agent and Jack's story, it's very much of a kind of a single lone wolf in this country that no one pays attention to. He can hide in plain sight. He's kind of looking for secrets. He's trying to, get close to certain people. He's given instructions, all that stuff. But there is no, he's ex-KGB. Everyone now is ex-KGB. And what is it now? We're not kind of going after individuals. It's governments going after groups of people and taking them down. And we don't actually, the mechanism, there isn't the let's just send KGB agents over to America and have them spy on us. Now it's at a completely different level. So when we compare these eras, I'm really fascinated by that and that transformation.
Well, it was what? So the past was what we called the ice, right? Is the Cold War was everyone's tasked. We know who we are. We know who they are. There's a way everybody does stuff, and it's all happening down underneath everything in the dark and the shadows, and we're going after one another. Meanwhile, we're all sort of, we're going about our daily lives. And then we got this weird period, right, where it was, it's all over now. And, and it was the Clinton era, and it was the blah, 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 blah. And the mob moved in to the Kremlin, and now it's just weird. Yeah. It just got weird, but it's also very hot, which is why we call this fire, because it's after that weird 2000s, and you have a story coming out. He has to tell the story about he's coming out about this weird 2000s era. But really, truly now we're in this very hot moment. Cannon fodder, the segment just before that we just blew through, but it's this espionage happening right in front of us. Everyone talks about it. It's right there. We know he stole stuff. Here's the classified documents. He stole them. He's selling them. And this was the former president. It's so in our face, all this stuff now. It's so right there. It's so hot. It's burning us, threatening to burn down our democracy because no one knows what to do with the fire. They knew what to do with the ice. They don't know what the hell to do with all this fire.
It's like a
let it just
toilet
burn.
bowl seat at Chernobyl is what it's like.
That's what it's exactly like. It's a toilet seat at Chernobyl. Oh my God.
So that's the incredible, and that's like it's I hate to say endless content, but endless ways of thinking about things now that have really transformed, and I kind of can't let it go.
No,
right?
you can't. You can't.
So it just delves into all these new stories, and I'm here
All right, so
for
what
it.
are the other two? That
I think. Oh, just to say, the spy stuff is interesting. It's inherently interesting, and it's inherently literary. If you go back to, like, Second World War, like 3 of the best writers that we have in the English language, right? There's Ian Fleming and John le Carré and Graham Greene. We're all working in the same agency at the same time. It's crazy. I mean, they're all good. All of their books are all good.
They're all good.
Like, really good.
I have to say, for the record, though, because I continually am accused on Twitter by crazy people of being a spy. Not all writers are spy, and I certainly am not one. You might be. They might think you're a spy now too, because you write about spies. But
It could be.
It could be. All right. So, what are your other two?
Okay, so let me start with the older story.
Yeah. Okay.
It's called Operation Morning Light. We have publicly announced it, Greg.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this. As obsessed as I am about these topics, I just had never heard of this. And so in January of 1978, there was a Soviet satellite with a nuclear core in it. Yes, they had satellites flying above this planet with nuclear cores, Soviet era.
Not space, not Jewish lasers, but this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this satellite is called Cosmos 954, suddenly came down and crashed in the Northwest Territories of Canada near Yellowknife. And Yellowknife is way the hell up in Canada. It is a long ways away.
Okay.
And it essentially landed on Indigenous territories. And so Canada heroically showed up to clean up the mess. It was a little bit of an incident and finger pointing, and you need to pay for this between the Soviet Union and Canada. America steps in, United States and Canada come together to show up and clean up the radioactive mess and high five each other when they're done. And they tell the local population, don't worry about it. We're good. Go back to what you're doing. We're good. And everyone gives, again, high fives and they're out of there. But no one really asked the local Indigenous population how they were doing. And so here we are 30, 40 years later, and our reporter is from Yellowknife. He's a member of the Indigenous group there. And he tells the real life story of what happened to the local population. Nature, the wildlife, and everything that went down from their perspective, because they were never asked. They were never asked about their story. We will also hear from some of the Canadians and Americans that were on the front lines. And I would say,
good.
and I would say it's not all good. It didn't kind of end well for a lot of people. But here's this incredible, again, Cold War story that we can tell in this really local, interesting, unique way, and it just blows my mind. So I got really excited. I would say that the 8 episode like detailed Bible is hands down the best thing that I've ever read. Like was obsessed. So stay tuned. It's coming. It's coming in November, and then before that, at the end of October, is a series called The Paddlefish Caviar Heist.
I'm so obsessed with this, Greg Olear. Okay, and everyone out there. Okay, wait. Here it comes.
Okay. So in the aughts and into the 2010s, there's this tiny little, and I'm actually not going to spoil any of this stuff, Operation Morning Light or Paddlefish. So in Warsaw, Missouri, it's kind of the paddlefish capital of the country or the world. These paddlefish are like 120, 140 pound monsters that kind of have, the for lack of a better word, like the low quality version of caviar. And it's in this kind of, deeply southern town in Missouri. And so one day all these kind of mysterious figures start showing up and buying up all the caviar and all this stuff. These like mysterious Russians, and it really kind of rankles the locals who like they're just different. Everyone's different. We don't know what's going on here. Again, international incident. What's going on? And so there's a kind of a secret investigation and millions spent to get to the bottom of what these, suspect Russians are doing.
In their tracksuits.
Yeah.
The Russians in the tracksuits show up in Warsaw, Missouri, because there's all these fish parts everywhere.
Yeah, fish guts on the river. And
fish guts on the river.
It's like highly suspicious. And so, everyone kind of jumps to their first conclusion. And so I'm not going to spoil where this leads, but it is I would call it kind of a crime thriller meets really cool, heartwarming story of communication and nostalgia for the better things in life.
It's going to be a great comedy. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah. And so it's hosted by Helen Hollyman, who's editor-in-chief of Thrillist. And she's a former caviar and truffles dealer and kind of foodie. And she's kind of sold this stuff to a lot of high-profile chefs in New York City, and she's kind of shared the fact that even the best chefs in the world kind of don't know what the good caviar is, and they don't know what's coming from the black market or from the legit places, and so it's just fascinating to like I would say 99% of us in the world, we don't really know anything about caviar. We don't know what it is, what it tastes like, what the appeal is, and so she adds this kind of personal and kind of interesting way in for us with this kind of Russian tale behind it. So if you can't tell already, I'm obsessed about these stories, and I'm going to keep going until someone, says enough with this already. But these are both super fun and interesting and engaging, and I can't wait to share it.
Those sound great, except that I've had caviar and it is not good.
Oh, this is no.
I've never had it.
What?
Never.
What's happening?
Here's just go get a salt shaker and pour it in your hand and lick it.
No, you haven't had good caviar.
And then it's caviar.
I know. No.
Oh, no. Right. The good caviar.
I love caviar. I love it. Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Did they have caviar last night, LB?
No.
Did you have caviar at your gala?
I just love it. I'm not trying to be that way. It's delicious. No, they didn't have that last night. No, I can't. I'm obsessed with Jason. And then you also did, I think you did the best series ever on the Dixie Mafia. So for everybody who likes to know that, I know there's folks, Twitter also has some characters who think they're always saying Dixie Mob, and I'm real careful with that, but go ahead.
So it's called In the Red Clay. It's about the enforcer for the Dixie Mafia based out of Winder, Georgia. His name was Billy Sunday Burt. He was actually named Billy. Billy Sunday was a preacher way back in the 30s, kind of Depression era, boisterous, preacher, and so it was all about bootlegging and whiskey and all this stuff. And this is some pretty rough stuff. And so in our season, we meet his son Stoney, talking about his father as a cold-blooded murderer. He's evidently killed 100 or more people. And in the course of our getting to know this man, Stoney, he discovers hidden treasure maps in these little stuffed animals and behind picture frames crocheted picture frames that his father made while he was in prison on death row. And so these treasure maps had crosses and they had X's. And the X's would be where money or things would be hidden. And you can imagine what the crosses were. And so we were actually out next to the Mulberry River on 100-degree days in Georgia with metal detectors and cadaver dogs looking for bodies. And I can tell you that the cadaver dogs marked instantly the locations of these spots from the treasure map. They were taken into, kind of authorities' hands, and we never got the real story back. But we're coming back with a season 2 on November 7th. If you may have seen this in the headlines earlier this year, around January, it was in the New York Times and kind of every outlet. One of our other characters, he basically helped solve a 50-year-old murderer in Boone, North Carolina, the Durham family. And we're going to actually go deep on that story with all the characters and not only tell that story, but actually maybe challenge the story that's already been told in the media with the kind of the real happenings. So it is a, you know, a blockbuster style, crazy, like Dixie Mafia, Southern guys. And, you know, they're not like, these guys are not like tattered clothes and sweaty and, you know, redneck, whatever. They kind of look like Elvis. They had the pressed pants and the crisp white shirts and the code of honor and respect. And so it's just so fascinating to actually have a relationship with Stoney the son.
I know. This is what happens.
Yeah.
I have to say, you know, when we announce your title as the president of podcasting, I do not expect you to be traipsing around rural Georgia with a cadaver dog. So respect, you know.
Well, and actually that's you actually bring up a really good point, which is, you know, one of I discovered the mission early on with this kind of imperative, what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell these narrative stories, but I was in the West Texas oil fields in the Permian Basin, and we were doing Boomtown with Texas Monthly, and I was like, I know nothing about this most important region in the world. I know nothing about this, and I know nothing about the people that live there. And it hit me, like, really, it was a 110-degree day in Kermit, Texas. I'm in a pickup truck with Christian Wallace, the host and writer of that series, and it hit me that I'm going to go to places with these creators, and we're going to tell the stories of these local stories of these places. We're going to take people to those places, and we're going to let people who wouldn't normally otherwise visit them and get everyone to know the people that live there. That's the story of America.
Yeah.
And so I roll up my sleeves like everyone else, and I want to be there. I want to be there with these stories and hear the real voices, you know, and that's what it's all about. That is a really difficult thing to do. It's, you know, it's the road less traveled for sure, but it is absolutely worth it. Like,
well, I think it's great. Yeah. The slate sounds great. All of these shows sound great. You're out there going to remote Texas. You're with cadaver dogs. Zarina's in war zones in Ukraine.
Exactly right.
LB's at this gala. I have not left my house. That's how it rolls here.
But I want to say this. Let's just say this for a second. So, you know, you and I, especially Greg, and some other folks, this was how we met, was realizing there were stories that need to be told and documented in the moment that we were living through history. You know, when 2016 happened, it was like, oh my God, this is a historical shift. We felt it, we knew it was a shift. And we started telling those stories. You wrote Dirty Rubles, right? I was writing on Twitter, writing these big threads. We were telling these stories there. And there came a point where it just became clear to me, which is why I sought a partner like Jason out, of it. There was a shift also needed in storytelling. There was a richness that was required. More time was required than just what you could blurt out, right? Because we were just blurting stuff out. I think this is about our news today, right? Of like, everything's just quick, and no one's sitting giving context. Nobody's really getting underneath our moment in time, and also reflecting back on other moments in the past and what might possibly coming down the channel in the future. And, you know, that is the job of storytellers. So that's where, you know, on Twitter, you guys will see a huge shift. I think a couple of years ago I was like, I'll do quick bites and do this, where I used to do really extensive research and put it all there. That was a very conscious decision on my behalf to actually connect with my professional world, with other great storytellers, to try to actually do richer content, more thoughtful content, to explore this moment that we have to the best of our abilities and document it and give all of the context needed in order for character to land, for stories to enter people's hearts, because it was just also fleeting.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's still also fleeting. It's just like these huge things happening still every day, and it's just and
It's
we're moving
so
on to the
important to
next.
write stuff down. You know what
Yeah.
Zarina's doing, what like Heather
And what you did
Constance
with
does.
Empress, I mean, that was really important to go back into that and really dive into that story that you created, but also it's a historical, there's a context to that
Yeah.
that's going to inform how are women leaders going to actually show up? What have we been through?
Yeah.
This is the
Wow.
kind of storytelling that matters. It is.
Well, and
Yeah.
I actually, I was one of the creators of Atlanta Monster about the Atlanta child murders, and Wayne Williams was a huge hit a number of years ago in the podcast space. And I also learned that there's kind of two kinds of audiences, and it gets to the point about fleeting,
Yeah.
which is the audiences fall into two categories. When they hear the Atlanta child murders, they say, "Oh, I remember that," and then you actually tell them the story, and they're like, "I don't remember that. Like that's like I got the little version of that. I want to go deep with you. I want like hours of what actually happened." And so they're very much invested in like, "Oh, that was really great, but it got pushed off the page, or it's been too long. And thank you for going deep with me." And the other audience is actually young people who were upset that they didn't even know that there was the Atlanta child murders, that they were never told about the Atlanta child murders, that this was a thing and we were going deep on it. They were very upset because they're not getting any of that history. And so it's our job, I think, it's my job, your job, any of our job, to go deep and tell a story that goes there. And when I first started doing podcasts, we were kind of under that impression that people only have time of 5 or 10 minutes for maximum for anything. And people wrote into us and they begged us to go longer. They said, no, you're wrong. No, you think that people are so busy, but they have that time in their day that they want to spend on something that is special. And so we started adding more and more minutes to each of our content. So the sweet spot of, let's just say 45 minutes to an hour, you could actually say this show, right? Which is run an hour and 40 minutes.
We have now run, we are giving people, they always ask us to go longer. And today they're getting it.
Yeah. And
they're getting it.
And people beg for that. It runs counter to what we think happens in the headlines and on social media. It runs counter to it, but that's what people really want. Yeah. Elizabeth Taylor is 10 hours. And I promise you that the consumption rate is going to be, people are going to listen to 95% of an episode. They're going to go all the way through. Once they get through the first episode or two, they're going all the way through. Yeah. They're listening to every minute. That's right. They might not be able to do it overnight. They may not be able to binge it all the time. They're going to go all the way through it because that's what they want. That's what they want.
It's great when you find a good podcast or a good show or a good anything like an episodic, because what I find, to your point, it's not the length, it's like breaking into something in my brain. I resist new things. And when I find something I like, I want to spend time with it. I find like now, like movies, because I'd rather watch a show, but if I watch a movie that I really like, I want to watch it again immediately. This is weird. It's like a post-COVID thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you want to spend time with it.
I want to spend time with it, you know?
Yeah.
You want to love something so much, and there's not a whole lot to love.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's true.
Severance.
It's true. I just want to love something that is so well crafted and so well told. And there's not enough of that out there. But when you find it, it just feels so special. Like you said, Greg, I want to watch it again.
Yeah, it's true. That's perfectly said. And you're right. It's something that, hits the spot. Like I describe, talking to my friends, I describe it as like, the little tuning fork in my soul, and someone can get in there and whack it and make it vibrate. And most things cannot do that. And when I feel that, I want somebody to keep whacking the old tuning fork, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been monitoring the comments. Because I want to get. I've frozen the comments. Jennifer Griffin, this is my favorite comment that I've ever seen on the show. Ready?
Oh,
okay, here it is.
Okay, here we go.
Right?
The left side of the Chernobyl toilet seat. Write
That's
a
so
book.
brilliant for so many reasons, because it's funny, because it's left to boom, but it's that, and it's inside jokey. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You win,
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Thank
We
you,
don't
Jen
know what
Griffin.
the prize is. We have no
That was
prizes.
great. I love that.
How about left cheek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're on the left cheek.
Yeah. I like that comment a lot. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff now that we're throwing out into the world for people to hopefully take time and fall in love with. In the meantime, we will be back next week. That's the plan, right? We're going to be here.
That's the plan. I don't.
Yeah,
think,
God
I
willing,
think
and the
I
creek
got- I
don't
can't believe
rise.
This week was able to happen, and I'm so thrilled. We had to. I had to. I hope you guys love Jason. I love him so much, but I had to grab him while he was in town for this thing and drag him onto this show. But I think next week will be. I don't know. I don't know what to expect next week, guys. It feels like everything's like right boiling here, and we might have some news, but also it might just all go away and pretend none of it ever happened. I just don't know.
Well, I mean, the queen is still dead, so there's that. We're going to get that. We're going to get that. Is the funeral next week? I think it is.
This funeral has gone on now quite enough.
No, there has to be more. We're coming back for season 3.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay. Punchy.
Yeah,
This was a particularly good. I love everybody that watches the show and comments. This was a particularly good comment night. Lots of really good comments. Way too many to even get to. LB, I'm sure that you will hit them.
I'm going to give you that task because you know what to look for because you were watching him.
Wait, did you?
Or am I doing it? We do comments afterwards when the end credits roll. We put up people's comments.
Did you do the new end credits? Is that what
I did? It's on there.
It's 2022 8 11 11 111. That thing.
I have no idea. Do you want me to play it?
Yeah, when we get there, we should play it. Okay. We want to say thank you to Zarina, who mercifully did log off. She stayed on for a while, but she logged off, and I think hopefully is asleep by now.
I hope.
Thank you, Jason Hoch, for coming on and telling us about all these great these great podcasts that you've done and that you have coming out, and also sharing your awesome haircut with us. Very happy to see you. Look at that. That's cool hair, man.
It goes with a tuxedo. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. LB, great to see you, of course.
Great to see you.
And that's it. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. All right, now I'm going to figure out how to do something. I cannot believe we're doing it this way. Here we go.